Welcome back to Humans in 5.
We often feel the need to defend our generation, the much maligned millennials, born between early 1980s and the late 1990s. We've had previous episodes about the plights of millennials, but there's so much rich material, we're talking about our generation once more.
One of the biggest indictments you hear about millennials is that we're all giant narcissists. With our Facebook, our Instagram, and our selfies, we're often criticized as being more obsessed with ourselves than any previous generation. We're also often accused of thinking that we deserve accolades, rewards, and participation medals when we haven't earned them, and for thinking that we're all that.
But this criticism comes with some questions. Young people today have access to these new technologies and different tools for expressing themselves and sharing information with their friends. Does this necessarily mean that millennials are more narcissistic than their counterparts in previous generations?
This idea is often discussed in the media, but there's not a lot of hard data available that can help us quantify if the social media generation is more self-obsessed and has less of a social consciousness than our older peers.
Last year, researchers at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign wanted to actually quantify this assertion by linking some data from the past with the present. Back in the 1990s, researchers at the University of California, Berkeley had over 1,000 students take part in a personality test called the Narcissism Personality Inventory.
This inventory asks 40 questions that have participants choose between two statements that define their attitudes and beliefs. But one of each pair of answers suggests a more narcissistic attitude. This is one testable way of actually gauging how narcissistic a person may be.
The researchers curious about narcissism in millennials revisited data on the Narcissism Personality Inventory collected from these thousands of students in the 1990s. They also collected data in the 2000s and the 2010s from tens of thousands of students from the University of Illinois and the University of California.
When they chugged through all the index results, they found that indicators of narcissism actually decreased over time. Millennials were less narcissistic than the previous generation. Classic indicators like leadership, vanity, and entitlement went down from 1992 to 2015.
However, the researchers also noted that indicators of narcissism also tend to decrease within an individual as they age. Basically, we all get a little less self-obsessed over time. This may create the effect of younger people seeming more narcissistic than, for example, their parents. The younger generation are probably not more narcissistic than their parents, but parents see them as self-obsessed since we all mellow out with age.
If we look at this demographically, the bad press about our young generation starts to make sense. In fact, when you look back at news coverage in the 1970s, the youth of that day were often called out in the news as being way too self-interested. It looks like generations pass the baton, with older people calling out younger people for the very same behaviors they had once upon a time.
We hope you're not fussing too much over yourself, and in any case, we'll see you next time on Humans in 5.
And don't forget to subscribe!